The wind screamed across the junkyard like a dying beast. It pushed dust into the air, covering everything in rust and ash. Broken ships lay everywhere, some with shattered wings, some half buried in black sand. It was the edge of Zone 9, the place where no one went unless they were desperate. Jack was one of those people. He walked slowly, his boots crunching over metal pieces, wore a gas mask and a heavy coat patched with old fabrics. He was a scavenger, searching for anything that could still be sold: scrap parts, rare wires, or hidden tech. But this time he found something else. A sound. At first he thought it was just the wind. Then he stopped. It came again, a voice soft and shaking, hidden under the storm. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't an animal. It was a child. "Please, take me and Mama, human." Jack turned fast, his heart pounding. The sound came from behind a collapsed cargo pod. He pulled out his flashlight and moved closer. A rusted sheet of metal blocked the entrance. Carefully, he pushed it aside, and there she was, a little alien girl, no older than 7. Her skin was pale lavender, her eyes glowing faintly violet. Her thin arms were wrapped around something a taller shape covered in dirt and cloth. Jack crouched down, lowering his flashlight. The mother lay motionless. The girl looked up, her cheeks wet with tears. Her voice broke as she repeated the words again. Slower this time. "Please, take me and Mama." Jack took a deep breath. He had seen a lot of things in his years as a junk hunter: dead bodies, wild creatures, traps, but never a living alien child begging for help. He scanned the mother. She was still breathing, barely. Her body was bruised, and her arm was twisted. "In a bad way? How long have you been here?" he asked. The girl didn't answer. She just stared at him, eyes wide with fear. Jack looked around. The storm was getting worse. The sky above was turning dark, the winds picking up speed. He knew what that meant. Radiation storms. In 30 minutes. This entire zone would be deadly. "I can't leave them here," he muttered. He grabbed a thick blanket from his bag and wrapped the mother's body in it. Then he lifted her gently onto his back. The girl held onto his coat tightly, her small hands gripping his sleeve. She didn't say a word. Jack moved fast, stepping over broken pipes and crawling through narrow paths. The entrance to his crawler was 100 meters away, but in a storm like this, it felt like 1,000. Every gust of wind pushed him sideways. The sand was sharp. He kept going. Finally, he reached the crawler. It was an old machine, half truck, half habitat, with large tires and a thick armor shell. He opened the hatch and climbed in, setting the mother down on a soft pad near the heater. He turned on the inner lights and removed his mask. The girl sat in the corner, knees pulled to her chest, watching him. Jack knelt beside the mother. Her pulse was weak. He opened his med kit and injected her with a stim shot. Her breathing eased a little. She moved slightly, but her eyes didn't open. "She need rest," he said. The girl looked at him now. Her voice was small, but clear. "Are you going to sell us?" Jack blinked. "What others?" "Before you, they tried to take us. They wanted to sell us to the black market." Jack stood up and faced her. "I'm not like them." The girl's eyes searched his face. Her body was still tense, like she didn't believe him. But she didn't run or cry. She just nodded. "What's your name?" Jack asked. She hesitated. "Lyra." He gave a soft nod. "I'm Jack. You're safe now, Lyra." But even as he said the words, he knew it wasn't true. Not yet. There were rumors in Zone 9 about alien slaves, secret auctions, and bounty hunters who watched the junk fields waiting for someone to find merchandise. If anyone had seen him carry the alien woman and child, they would follow. Jack looked at Lyra again. She had already fallen asleep on the metal bench. Her body curled up, her thumb near her mouth like a baby. He sat down, eyes on the radar. His fingers tapped slowly. This was not part of the job. This was not why he came to the junkyard. But now, it had become something else now. It was personal. The moment Jack stepped outside his crawler, he knew someone had seen him. He knelt in the dust, examining the fresh tire marks near the edge of the junk slope. They weren't his. Too wide, too recent. He looked up toward the sharp hills made of broken holes and fallen satellites. The winds had quieted now, but the storm had brought something. Worse-hunters. Inside the crawler, Lyra stirred. Her mother still hadn't woken. The girl peeked out the window, holding the metal curtain with tiny fingers. Jack climbed back in and locked the hatch tight. "We have to move," he said quickly. Now, Lyra didn't ask why. She just hugged her mother tighter as Jack started the engine. The crawler rumbled, its gears grinding as it rolled over broken panels and shattered flight decks. The landscape around them groaned like it was alive. Jack checked the scanner. One blip. Then two. A third one blinked red. "They're tracking." "Heat signatures," Jack muttered, switching the coolant mode to silent. He killed the outside lights and cut across the back trail into the rust fields and old. Dead maze of giant scrap towers made from warships melted by time. It was a dangerous path full of sharp edges, rusted steel teeth, and hidden drops. But it was also the only way to vanish. Behind them, black sand vehicle appeared on the scanner fast light, built for desert chases. Signal showed a Merc. ID. Jack cursed. "This is no accident," he whispered. "They came for her." Sped up, making sharp turns, his crawler brushing against narrow metal walls. Sparks flew, scraping sounds echoed, but he didn't slow down. Inside the crawler, Lyra sat beside her mother, holding her hand. "Are you scared?" she asked Jack softly. "No," Jack said. "I've done worse." That wasn't true. This was. The first time he was protecting someone he didn't even know. Someone fragile. Someone trusting. He kept his eyes on the radar. The enemy vehicle was gaining. Jack made a quick decision. He opened a secret compartment under the floor. "Get inside," he told Lyra. "Take your mother with you. But no questions now." Lyra obeyed. She gently pulled her mother into the small, padded space, and Jack sealed it. He shut the panel and threw a pile of scrap tech over it. Then he turned his crawler in a different direction, toward the smoke hills. Within 5 minutes, the hunters were on him. The first warning shot came from above. A blue flash lit the sky and missed his left wheel by inches. Jack smirked. "You want a chase? You'll get one." He hit the turbo switch. The crawler roared. Dust exploded behind it. He zigzagged between junk towers, tires jumping broken rails. The Mercs followed, shooting from their open hatch. But Jack knew these fields better. He led them into a narrow passage between two burned-out cargo ships. The space was too tight for speed. One of the hunter's tires clipped a spike metal burst upward. Throwing the vehicle sideways into a wreck wall, it flipped. Jack didn't look back. He circled around and returned to where he had hidden Lyra and her mother. His crawler's engine hissed as it cooled on inside. He unsealed the panel. Lyra looked up at him. "You came back?" "I said I would," Jack replied. She didn't smile, but her fingers found his hand and didn't let go. Jack helped them up and moved them to the front seats. Then he checked his data drive. A message blinked at the top of the screen, encrypted strange. He opened it. "You have what we want. Deliver the female and the child to the trade pit. You will be paid double. The standard bounty. No one will ask questions. 12 hours. Coordinates attached." Jack stared at the screen, his jaw clenched. Someone had put a price on their heads, and someone had leaked his location. He crushed the compad in his hand and threw it out the window. "We're not selling anyone," he said. Lyra looked at him, confused. "Why are you helping us?" Jack stared out the front screen, watching the twin suns set behind the trash dunes. "Because no one helped me when I was small," he whispered. She didn't say anything, but she leaned against his arm, her little body warm and tired. And at that moment, Jack knew this wasn't just a rescue. It was a fight, a war he didn't plan for, but now couldn't walk away from. The crawler was silent except for the soft hum of life support systems. Jack sat on the floor, rechecking the seals and filters. The dust outside had turned thick again, glowing with radiation. They couldn't move until the air cleared. Lyra was curled up in a blanket in the co-pilot's seat, already asleep. But her mother was awake now. She hadn't spoken yet. Just watched. Her eyes were bright silver. Her face was narrow, shaped like the moon, but her lips were dry and cracked. She didn't sit up. She didn't move. But Jack could feel her gaze, like a blade against his back. Finally, she spoke. Why? Didn't you sell us? Jack looked over. Because I'm not a slaver? The woman blinked slowly. Her voice was dry like sand. You're human. Humans don't do things for free. Jack stood, picked up a small water canister and handed it to her. Drink this, then talk. She took it without trust, sipping carefully. Her hands shook. Jack noticed marks on her wrists, burned scars in the shape of clamps. He'd seen those before. Slave branding. Deep ones. Where are we? She asked. My crawler. We're still in the junk fields, he replied. We can't leave yet. Radiation storm's too strong. She sat up slightly, gritting her teeth. My daughter? She's safe. She's been with me the whole time. The woman's eyes softened for a second. Just a second. Then she looked away. You should let us go. If they catch you with us, you'll die. Jack leaned back against the wall. That ship sailed the moment I carried you out of the scrap. She looked at him, no really looked. Her fingers tightened around the blanket. Her jaw trembled like she was trying to hold something back. My name is Vesha, she said. I was a keeper for the miners in the slave pits of Valate. My daughter was born there. Jack frowned. They allowed children. They breed them, she replied quietly. The Empire has no rules in the dark sectors. He felt a chill in his spine. How did you escape? Vesha's hand went to her side. A scar stretched down. Her ribs. I broke my handler's arm and ran. Took Lyra in the night. We hid inside a supply hauler that crashed near this system. We've been running since. Jack nodded slowly. They're tracking you, aren't they?
How?
Vesha didn't answer. She didn't need to. Jack stood up and went to the back of the crawler. He pulled a med scanner and waved it across her body. The screen flashed red. Tracker found, he said. Vesha's breath stopped. It's in your neck, buried deep. Find us, she whispered. Jack stared at the scanner. He had the tools to cut it out, but not the meds to stop the pain. Not the tech to clean it right. If he touched the wrong nerve, she could die. He looked at her again. I can remove it. But it'll hurt a lot. Vesha gave a cold smile. I've survived worse. Jack cleaned the blade, turned on the stabilizers, set the crawler to silent mode. He didn't ask permission, just acted. The cut was quick, but the pain was not. Vesha bit into her arm, refusing to scream. Her eyes burned, but she didn't cry. Jack dug the tracker out a tiny black chip. Pulsing faint red end crushed it under his boot. It's done, he said. Vesha collapsed into the blanket. Shaking, Jack took a deep breath. He had just declared war. Outside, the storm winds howled louder. But inside, the silence was different now. Not fear. Not tension. Something else. Lyra woke from the noise and ran to her mother. Mama, she whispered. Vesha held her close. I'm here, little star. Jack turned away to give them privacy. But then the crawler's alarm beeped. He checked the SCREENA. New message was coming in a marked. Direct frequency. Tracker offline. Last ping recorded. Dispatching recovery team. Jack's hand froze. They're coming, he said. Vesha stood up despite her pain. She held Lyra close. How long? She asked. Maybe 6 hours. Vesha looked at him with steady eyes. You could leave us now. No one would blame you. Jack stared at her. I would. Asterisk. Jack turned off the alarm, but the silence inside. The crawler felt heavier now. Outside, the wind had faded. Radiation clouds moved east, leaving a ghostly green haze. That meant they had maybe 5 or 6 hours before the first scout drone arrived. Vesha leaned against the crawler wall, her body weak, her arms tight around Lyra. But Jack could see the look in her eyes, calculated, trained, always watching. He had seen that look before in soldiers, in survivors. You've been trained, he said. Vesha didn't answer. Jack stepped closer.
What?
You weren't just a slave, were you? She looked up slowly, her silver eyes dull from pain but sharper. Then before? No, she said. Before the pits, I was a whisper. Jack paused. That word whisper was banned in some sectors, class of alien spies used by the old empires. Killers trained from birth. It's vanished after the war. You're one of them? Whispered, until I gave birth. Her fingers moved slightly, brushing back Lyra's hair. They took everything from me, but they couldn't take her. Jack sat on the bench across from her. Then why didn't you fight them? Vesha opened her coat slowly. Beneath her shoulder was something Jack hadn't seen before. Deep scar, not from a wound, but from something fused into her skin. Metal, thin, glowing blue. A mark. It's called a sigil bond, she said. They put it in me when I was captured. It shuts down my nerves if I try to resist or kill. It turns my body into glass. Jack leaned forward. That's why you didn't fight back when they chased you. I couldn't, she said. Now it's spreading. My bones feel like fire. Jack stared at the glowing mark. Can I cut it out? Vesha shook her head. It's wrapped around my spine. If you remove it, I'll die. Lyra looked up. Then what do we do? Jack stood. He started pacing. There had to be something. There's an old Manek, station abandoned. Near the edge of Zone 10, he said. It has high-tech surgical pods. Maybe I can override the sigil from there. Vesha tilted her head. That place is dead. And crawling with machines. I've been there before. I can get us in. Vesha didn't argue. She just closed her eyes for a moment and nodded. But Jack knew time was running out. The tracker was gone. But the Empire had already locked on her signal once. The sigil inside her might still be giving off a faint pulse. The bounty on her head wasn't just for her escape. It was for what she knew. Vesha opened her eyes again. If we go to Zone 10, you'll be hunted. Not just by raiders, by command units. Real ones. Jack walked to the control panel. Then we don't stop until we get what we need. Lyra followed him. Will Mama be okay? Jack knelt and touched her shoulder gently. She'll be okay. But we have to be brave. Lyra nodded. She didn't cry. Her hands balled into tiny fists. I'll help, she said, that night. As the crawler moved toward the red line of Zone 10, Vesha lay resting in the back, breathing slow. Her head was against the seat, her hands still linked with her daughter's. Jack watched her in the rear mirror. She wasn't just an alien. Run away. She wasn't just someone who needed rescue. She was a locked weapon, one the Empire wanted to control. Or destroy. Suddenly the radar beeped. Jack leaned forward. 2 dots. 1 low. 1 airborne. Drones. He flipped off the crawler's lights and switched to stealth mode. He couldn't outrun both. But maybe he could mislead them. He stopped the crawler under a collapsed star freighter and opened the side hatch. He grabbed a decoy beacon from his toolbox, twisted its timer, and threw it into the sand. The moment it hit the ground, it began blinking fast, releasing heat and signal pulses in all directions. One of the drones changed direction. Jack grinned. You still got it, old man? He muttered. But the other drone stayed on course, and it was heading straight for them. He raced back to the pilot seat and closed the hatch. The engine roared as he pulled the crawler deep into the freighter's empty cargo bay. Once inside, he shut everything down. Vesha opened her eyes weakly. What's happening? They found us, Jack said. But I won't let them take you. The hum of the drone grew louder, just above the hull now. Jack pulled out a plasma blade and positioned himself at the door. If they breached, he was ready to fight. Not for credits, not for honor, but for a mother and child who had no one else. A sharp sound cracked through the silence like metal tearing through sky. Jack stayed still. Crouched beside the crawler's side hatch, plasma blade in hand, he could hear the Empire drone sweeping low above the wreck. Its search beam flickered. Through the holes in the hull of the old freighter inside the crawler, Vesha gripped her daughter's hand. Don't move, she whispered. Lyra stayed frozen, hiding behind her mother's body like a shadow. Then the signal cut through the air. A loud, clear voice broadcasted over the drone's speaker, monotoned, cold, without feeling. This is a confirmed extraction order from the Arcane Dominion. Alien female code Whisper 9, her offspring must be surrendered immediately. All citizens and life forms are warned. Possession is a Class Read offense. Surrender will be rewarded. Resistance will be crushed. Jack's heart sank. That wasn't just a scout drone, it was a bounty announcer. Which meant he turned to the crawler's come screen. Dozens of pings were appearing across the map. Ships ground. Patrols, mercenaries, scavengers. The bounty had gone public. The entire sector now knew she was Herond. The reward was more than anything Jack had ever seen. 10 million credits alive, 5 million dead. Dead. He didn't say anything at first, just stared at the blinking screen. Then Vesha spoke behind him. That price is for what I remember, not for who I am. Jack turned. What do you mean? The Empire wiped out my unit before they could betray it, she said, but I survived. I remember the old codes, the vault gates, the hidden research. They don't care about me as a person. They care about what I know. Jack stepped back, pacing. If that was truth, then Vesha wasn't just hunted. She was dangerous to everyone. Even him, you knew this would happen, he said. Vesha looked at him quietly, her expression calm. I hoped it wouldn't. Lyra stood up, holding a small photo unit Jack had given her earlier. It showed her and her mother, smiling for the first time in months. Are you leaving us? She asked softly. Jack paused. No, but the crawler's radar beeped again. A nearby scavenger patrol was approaching. Fast, he powered up the crawler. We don't have a choice anymore, he said. We need to reach the Zone 10 medical vault. Now, Vesha looked uncertain. They'll be waiting for us. Jack smiled. Grimly, I'm counting on that. He turned on the engine, shifting the crawler into high drive. The tires kicked up ash and sparks as they roared out of the freighter's shell. Behind them, the drone gave chase. Ahead of them, the sand began to burn red laser pulses from bounty hunters scanning the air. Jack dodged between crumbling wrecks. And burned fighter engines? We'll reach the gate in 30 minutes, he shouted. What happens when we get there? Vesha asked. I'll do what they never expected, he said. The crawler jolted as a blast struck the side panel. A chunk of metal flew off and the whole vehicle swerved. Vesha reached over and helped. Steady the controls. You drive like a madman, Jack grinned. You haven't seen anything yet. Suddenly, another screen lit up inside the crawler, a newcome request. It was a voice-only message. It's bouncing between encrypted bands. Jack hesitated, then hit play. A deep voice spoke, calm, familiar. Jack, I know you're listening. It's Riven, from Junk Station 12. I saw your name flash near the bounty zone. Listen, brother, walk away. Drop the cargo. You don't need this. You've got 1 hour before the guild locks your ID and freezes your credits. You've got a daughter. Of a killer in your seat, think about it? The message ended. Jack didn't reply. He simply reached over and smashed the comm panel with his fist. Vesha said nothing, but Jack could feel her eyes on him again, this time. There was no mistrust in them, only sorrow. You're giving up your life, she said. I gave it up the moment I pulled your child out of the scrap, he answered, as they climbed the last ridge before Zone 10. The desert gave way to something new. Silver towers covered in ash, blinking lights under broken satellites. The old medical complex stood like a grave. Ahead, a blast door still flickered, faint green locked, but not dead. We're here, Jack said. Lyra smiled and squeezed his arm. But above them, the sky cracked open. 2 Empire cruisers entered. Orbit, no more time. Asterisk, the sky above turned red as the Empire. Cruisers broke the clouds. Jack slammed his fist on the dashboard. The crawler roared forward, heading for the gate of the abandoned medical station. The sand shook. Wind howled. The silence of the junkyard was gone, replaced by thunder from the sky. They're descending, Jack shouted. Then 5 minutes out, inside, Lyra clung to her mother. Vesha's face was pale, but her eyes were sharp. "They won't stop," she said. "If they get to me first, you must take Lyra and run." Jack didn't answer. He flipped open the crawler's override panel and punched in old access codes. The gate in front of them began to creak open rusted arms, pulling apart as sparks flew from broken gears. It was barely wide enough. Jack hit the pedal. The crawler flew through the gate. Just as the cruisers fired, the ground behind them exploded, metal fire and ash rising into the air like a volcano. The crawler shook violently, a side panel ripped off from the heat. Inside the old medical station, everything was dark. Broken lights blinked weakly. Vents leaked dust. Machines sat dead in corners. But Jack knew where to go. "The surgery room is underground," he said. "Hold on." They moved down a cracked ramp, deeper into the station's core. In the back, Vesha gritted her teeth. "Jack, if the Empire breaks in, you must no more talk about running," Jack snapped. "I didn't bring you all this way to run now." They reached the bottom level. A giant metal door stood in front of them, covered in old warning signs. Jack wiped the dust and pressed his hand to the lock. Nothing then. Lyra stepped forward. She reached out and touched the panel. A light flickered. "Green dot, access granted." Jack stared at her. Vesha smiled faintly. "She's not just my daughter, she's mine and theirs. Engineered to hold command access, even after I was discarded." The door opened. Inside was a white chamber cleaner than the rest of the building. A single medpod stood in the center, still humming. Jack helped Vesha into it. She was shaking now. "I'll patch in the pod's command line," he said. "Try to hack the sigil and burn it out from the inside." Vesha nodded. "If it kills me, it won't." He cut her off. He started the override. The screen blinked red, then yellow. Inside the pod, metal arms moved over Vesia's body, scanning her nervous system. Then read warning. "Sigil integrity high. Biolock engaged. Error biofusion fatal." "No," Jack hissed. He typed faster, overrode more lines. Suddenly another alert popped up. "Manual override possible, inject host nerve." Pattern Jack froze. That meant he had to link his nervous system to hers too, force the sigil into releasing control by confusing. It's dangerous," the pod warned. "Pain transfer high. Possible neural damage." Jack didn't blink. He grabbed the neural wires and jammed them into his own neck port. Pain hit like lightning. His body convulsed. His eyes rolled. He saw flashes her memories. Her pain, chains, screams. Lyra's birth in a dark room. Blood, fire. But he held on inside the pod. Vesha screamed, but her body stopped seizing. The sigil was dying. The screen flashed again. Sigil. Disconnected. Jack ripped the wires from his neck and collapsed to the floor, gasping. Blood dripped from his nose. His hands trembled. Lyra rushed to him. "Jack, I'm okay." "I'm okay," he whispered. The pod opened. Vesha stepped out, weak but standing. She looked down at her hands. "No more pain. No more burning spine. It's gone," she whispered, then dashed. The walls shook. They turned to the security. Feed, boots, dozens of them. Empire soldiers had breached the outer level. They were coming fast. Jack grabbed his rifle. "Go through the back tunnels," he said. "Take Lyra. I'll hold them." Vesha didn't move. "No, we fight together." Jack looked at her. For the first time, she wasn't broken. She was ready. She pulled a weapon from the Wallen old plasma rifle, dusty but powerful. Her hands knew it well. Jack smiled. "You sure you're healed?" She said, "But I'm angry." They took position near the lower corridor. The footsteps grew louder. Lyra hid behind a crate, hands on her ears. And when the first soldier burst through the smoke, Jack fired. Vesha moved like a storm no longer. Weak. Her aim was deadly, every shot exact. Jack backed her, covering blind spots. Enemies fell, but there were too many. Vesha took a hit in the shoulder. Jack's arm bled. Still they fought. Beside them, Lyra stood. And she wasn't crying anymore. She was watching, learning. And behind her eyes was something strong: hope. Smoke filled the lower levels of the medical station. The Empire's soldiers had fallen. Back, but not for long. Jack leaned against the wall, blood dripping down his arm. His rifle was nearly drained. Vesha crouched beside him, reloading, her wounded shoulder wrapped in torn cloth. Her breathing was heavy, but her eyes still burned with fire. Lyra was hiding behind them, calm, quiet, waiting. Then the ground rumbled again, but this time, it wasn't the Empire. It was something else. From the sky above, a second ship descended, dulled, battle-worn, painted in forgotten colors of a dead rebel fleet. Jack's comlink crackled alive. Scavenger 922, this is Ravenwing. We received your signal relay. You've got survivors in need of evac? Jack blinked, then laughed weakly. I didn't send anything. Beside him, Lyra stood and smiled. I did, she whispered. While you were asleep last night. Vesha turned, stunned. How? There was a cum spike in the old med room, I remembered. What Mama taught me. I bounced the signal to deep space relays. Jack stared at her. You little genius. Lyra giggled, then hugged them both. Outside, the Ravenwing landed. Rebel medics and fighters poured into the ruins, pushing back the last wave of Empire. Troops, it was over. Or at least for now. 1 week later, in the orbit of Free World Station 11. Jack stood in front of a large glass window, staring out at the peaceful stars. No sirens, no gunfire, no sand or junk or death, just peace. Behind him, Vesha walked in wearing clean clothes for the first time in years. Her silver skin was healed, her long hair now braided back. She stood taller, freer. Lyra was holding a warm drink and walking beside her, chatting happily. With a small robot pet gifted by the station's engineers. Doctor says you've got some nerve damage, Vesha said gently to Jack. Jack shrugged. I've had worse. She stepped beside him. You could have walked away. I tried, Jack said. But that little voice in the junkyard didn't let me. Vesha's lips curled into a smile. They stood in silence for a moment. Then a man approached Commander Varek of the Rebel Alliance. A tall man with mechanical arms and a deep scar across his face. We've reviewed the Empire bounty data, he said. You've done more than save a family. You've handed us codes we thought lost forever. He looked at Vesha. You still remember the vault location? She nodded. Every detail. Jack raised an eyebrow. Vault. Vesha nodded. The Dominion has a hidden lab deep inside a black moon. Inside it is a weapon they built, but never perfected. Jack frowned. What kind of weapon? Not a bomb? A mind-wipe satellite. Designed to erase memory systems across cities, entire colonies, with one pulse. Commander Varek stepped forward. If we get there first, we can destroy a Tor. Rewire it. Jack shook his head. You're asking her to go back? Vesha looked at Jack. No, I'm choosing to. Then she placed her hand on his chest. But I'm not going alone. Jack opened his mouth, ready to argue, but Lyra ran up to them. Does that mean we're a team now? She asked. Jack smiled. You, me, your mom? We're more than a team. Lyra tilted her head. We're a crew, Vesha said, wrapping her arms around them both. We're a family. That night, the stars outside the station shimmered brighter. In a private docking bay, Jack's old crawler was being upgraded now, reformed into a long-distance ship. Its armor reinforced, its name freshly painted on the side. The junk light inside, Jack made the final log entry for his private journal. I went into the scrap for parts and came back with a daughter. And something else I didn't expect, a reason to keep going. The galaxy's still broken. But maybe one family can change a little piece of it. He closed the log. Outside the viewport, Vesha and Lyra were waiting at the ramp. Jack took a deep breath and stepped into the future.